Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Bernitas, the Director of Instrumental School Methods and Repertoire for Alfred Music. And I'm very excited to be here with the incredible drummer and best-selling author, Jim Riley. Jim is the drummer and band leader for the multi-platinum group Rascal Flats. Since moving to Nashville in 1997, he's played over 1,000 sold-out shows for millions of fans, and his book, Survival Guide for the Modern Drummer, has become a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
And it's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's been really exciting talking to you even before we started. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of the behind the scenes information with some of our viewers. So let's get right into it. Our first question is, how did you get connected with the Rascal Flats?
Yeah, so I moved to Nashville in 1997. And at that time, my goal was really to just meet people. And so I was showing up in the local clubs, and there was a really great music scene at that time in the clubs with a lot of players coming in and out, really quality players. And we sort of started to gather around some of the same sit-ins, same gigs. And so I first met Jay DeMarcus, who's one of my bosses with Rascal Flats. We would see each other at certain jam sessions and play together. Eventually, we started working together. And a couple of years, I think about a year later, he got a gig with a lady named Shelly Wright. I was playing with a guy named Mark Chestnut, who's a country singer in the 90s, and had a lot of success. And Shelly was opening up for Mark. And so now Jay and I were spending every weekend together, and then we were spending time during the week. And I got to know his cousin Gary, who's, of course, the lead singer of Rascal Flats. And they ended up pulling Joe Don Rooney into the mix. And when the three of them got a record deal, they asked me if I would be interested in coming out with them. And so I actually quit my job with Mark Chestnut, which everyone thought was a really stupid, crazy idea. But I took a leap of faith because I believed in my friends. I thought that they had some real talent, and I thought that they could write some part of the story of the future of what was going to be happening with country music. And I think it's worked out pretty well. It's been 20 years so far that I've been with those guys, and it's been a really great ride.
I would agree that it's worked out pretty well. I would think that's a pretty good way of putting it. The interesting thing about that story, to me, as an educator, is we talk about relationships. And this is the music business, but it's really built on a ton of relationships. So it's great to see how that evolved from relationships and working together, because that's what we do. And it's probably, I don't know, you think about work and you think about relationships and how do you make that all mesh together, and then you build something because you actually believe in it, right?
People wonder, how do you get this audition, or how do you do this and that? And really, for me, it didn't happen any way like that. It was about getting in positions where I was playing music with people that I thought were great musicians and great singers, and being exposed to those people and talking to them on the break, and finding out the human side of everybody. And that's the thing that people don't really take into consideration is, in normal times, when we're touring and, people are on tour buses, these people that are being hired to play in a band are people that you have to be able to get along with on a bus, which is a very small tube, rolling down the highway. And so, you've got to be a person that people want to spend time with. And it's almost like the musicianship has got to be a given. But I mean, I think it helps to have a really great clarity of purpose, when you think about, like, for instance, with me being a drummer, just understanding that, my job of keeping time and being kind of the motor that keeps the band, rolling is an important thing to keep in mind.
Absolutely. And then that'll bring me to the next question number 2, which is about managing life and work. And that's difficult for a lot of people to do. So how do you manage a work-life balance?
Yeah, I think that's the most challenging thing that I deal with in my life. And I say that with all humility, that I'm very appreciative that have been able to continue to work no matter what era we've been in. And the biggest thing is balance. So for me, one of the one thing is, like, for instance, I teach kids from 6th grade to 12th grade in a program at my studio here. I was teaching when I first started doing it. I would teach, a 4 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, and a 6 o'clock lesson. And what I realized was I was missing dinner. So what I decided to do was do a 4, and then a 5:30, and then a 6:30. So I always had 5 to 5:30 to have dinner with my family. And that's like a small way that I can bring some balance into the equation. The second thing is to work hard in certain spots so that I can carve out quality time to be with the family. One thing that we did this year was we actually bought a cabin up in the Smoky Mountains, and that's been great. Of course, it's kind of a businessy thing because we rent it out, but at the same time, it's been great for us to all just go there and get to spend some time together. And the one thing that I don't have at the cabin is drums or musical equipment, so, and that's the number one question people are asking me. Are there drums there? I'm like, there are definitely not drums there. There are the mountains. Dig the mountains. You can take a break from music. As a matter of fact, going up there this weekend is none other than Bill Wiggins, the former timpanist for the Nashville Symphony.
Wow.
He's actually going up there this weekend. So
a change of environment is really good.
Oh yeah, it's really great. And for us, that's only 4 hours away. So it's just far enough away that, it really removes me from the hustle and bustle of, my Nashville life, and kind of transports me to a different spot where my priorities, shift completely to just, being a dad, being a husband. And but
that's awesome.
The short answer is it's still a challenge trying to achieve balance in my personal life and because I'm so driven to do the things that I do. Turning it off is definitely the hardest thing, but it's something you have to do because you have to really understand that, your family is the reason why you do it all in the first place.
That's an excellent point. And I love that you pulled dinner out of that, because that's an important thing. And we do the same thing in my own family. Dinner's going to happen almost every night. Maybe not every night, but we try. And we do like everybody goes around the table. What was your favorite part of the day? Just some kind of like thing that we can talk about. And I think it's
absolutely.
Really important. So
no, we've been doing the same thing.
That's awesome. All right. So now to the next question, number 3. You're not only a great performer, but you're an avid music educator. What has driven you to become as passionate of an educator as you are a performer?
That's something that that was a bug that hit me really early. As I know it's hard to as a former band director yourself, I know it's hard to envision rambunctious percussionists, right?
Doesn't happen. No.
Yeah, but sadly, I was one. And my band director in high school was very smart to say, what this kid doesn't need, he doesn't need more discipline. What he actually needs is more responsibility. So instead of, trying to discipline me, he was like, what? You need to take control of the drum line. You're writing the cadence. You're doing this. You're going to be assigning parts in the in band, and that was really where I started to get a real taste for educating and realizing it was something that I wanted to do. So when I went to North Texas, my first semester there, I was actually a jazz studies major, but I was playing in the drum line. And what was funny to me was the drummer for the 1 o'clock lab band, the highest jazz band they had, was actually in the marching band. Now he's playing drum set in the pit, but I mean, it kind of sent this message to me that, like, I could be in the music education side of things and still be a great performer. So I changed my major to music ed, and I ended up getting my degree in music education. And as I started to seriously pursue my career, my opportunities to be an educator dwindled just because I just didn't have the time and resources. But as like my career with Rascal Flats started to really take off, the thing that really struck the Rascal Flats guys as funny was like we were in the height of their career. And that's when I started teaching a lot. And they were like, what are you doing? Almost like they were insulted, like they weren't paying me enough money that I felt like I had to go get a side job. And I was like, it wouldn't matter how much you were paying me. I would do this no matter what. This is what I have a passion for doing. So the short version of it is that the more successful I got with the band, the more opportunities I was able to take to get into education and, reaching out to companies and wanting to do some publishing. And I was, I was happy to do, my first collaboration with Alfred, which was, the song Charting Made Easy, which is, the Survival Guide for the Modern Drummer, which, has been great. And for me, as a drum book, there was no better place for it to be than Alfred. I mean, I looked at the catalog of Alfred, and I mean, if you look at the number one, number two prolific books in sales, they're both Alfred books. You look at the top 20, you're going to find about 15 of them are with Alfred. It's the home of great drum books. So it's definitely the place that I wanted my book to
and
be.
I think to your point, I think one of the things that goes into that is the pedagogy and what's behind what's being written on the page. And that's what I saw in your book and in all of your supporting materials is I mentioned it a little bit before, the versatility of what's being presented. And I didn't mention what I also loved in what you're doing. And we're talking behind the scenes stuff, but I don't mind telling you why your book is so great. The clarity that you deliver the information. It's like real language and it's real examples and it's attainable. And I think that's something that's important, not only in a great text, that the information that's being presented is something that a student or a teacher can interpret because it's clear, but it's also important because you're trying to convey a message. So when your message is clear, you can get it to more people. So you're teaching the students in your home, but you're also teaching all of us that are out here.
No, I feel like, the gratitude that I feel when I get, a YouTube clip from someone in, Siberia, literally, that's working on this material, is just phenomenal. It's the reason I wrote the book. There were other styles books out there that, other companies had, and some of them have been very successful books. And so it was a daunting task to go, why am I even going to put this book out? And the reasons were really clear to me. The first thing I needed to do was make sure that I was drawing from my own real personal experience of the things that I use in my career. And the second and most important thing was that I wanted to make the music inspirational. The music needed to be inspirational and it needed to be authentic. So I did something that nobody really ever does in these types of books, which is I use country music musicians for the country stuff, jazz ones for the jazz, blues ones for the blues, metal for the metal ones, Cajun for the Cajun ones. It's like I went as authentic as I could. It took way too much time and way too much money, but I wanted to do it right because I felt like if I don't do it right, there's really no reason. There's other books out there, but if I can do it the way that I want to do it, I can really make a difference in people's lives. And when I get the feedback that I get from around the globe, thanks to, Alfred's global distribution deals, it's really gratifying.
No, that's great. That honesty behind what you're building is important because you're putting yourself out there. So it has to reflect who you are as a person, whether it's in print or whatever. And it's really important. So I love hearing about that. And I'm sure that everybody watching loves hearing that too. All right, let me get on to my next question for you, which is number 4 for anybody keeping track, which is, how do you prepare for a performance?
Yeah, so I'm preparing for a performance right now. I know this is a time capsule, but right now I'm getting ready to do a CMT, which is Country Music Television, Crossroads with Gary LaVox, who's the singer of Rascal Flats, and a really young, talented singer named Tori Kelly. And we're going to be doing a Christmas Crossroads. So it's all material, almost all material that I've never done before. And I have to approach it as the drummer. I also have to approach it as the musical director of the event. I've hired all the musicians, the singers, the string players, everybody that's going to be doing this thing. The first is, there's a lot of emails. But when we actually get to the music, for me, the first thing that I do is do some listening. I like to write charts so that I've figured out a detailed analysis of the piece, so I can kind of get a better helicopter view of what this song is all about. So I write charts, and then I start to put them on the drums and practice them, and I'll also listen to them. I think it's really important to listen to the music before you try to play with it. This goes for covering over music or working with play-alongs. The best thing to do, like for instance, when I get music that people want me to add drums to, the very first thing I do is listen to the whole thing. I tell my students, I don't want you to bully over the track by playing drums, and then you might miss some details that are in the track if you were just listening. So if I'm sitting there writing a chart and listening to it, I'm hearing all the details, and then I put them on the drums. But I also like to continue to listen to the music in the background, so that I'm really kind of absorbing it. And that's going to be happening in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And I'll be looking forward to that. It'll be socially distanced and all of that stuff, but it's still going to be really great to get on stage and play with some great players, and especially the great singers that are going to be involved with this project.
Wow, that's really exciting. What I'm thinking about as you're saying how you're preparing for this project. I really like the idea about listening and writing, and you're kind of putting the different senses together, because you learn different ways, right?
That's important to me, especially, and I'm speaking to the drummers, we have to make sure that we are as educated about music as the rest of the ensemble, particularly in my position as a leader. The rest of the musicians don't speak. So I get this got to do boom. When I play that boom, people are like, I don't know what you're talking about.
What does that mean?
But if you can speak about music in the same language that the rest of the musicians are speaking, then you can communicate to them. And that's communication is one of the most important parts of being a leader. And you can't lead an ensemble unless you really understand what's going on from top to bottom.
Yeah, and I would pull from what you said. I think the difference between good and great is nuance. You said nuance, and I think when a really great musician finds where that nuance lives and exposes it, and that comes through experience and listening and all that. That's
absolutely. When I talk to my students about some of these are great players. I'm teaching at Belmont right now. These kids are really fantastic. And when I think about where they're at and where they want to be, most of the time I can show them where the gap is with the simplest music. It's not the most difficult stuff. I can say, here, let's play this ballad, and then just kind of jump into all of the things that they need to work on in terms of their quality of sound, in terms of their clarity of purpose, making sure that the grooves that they're playing are serving the song, that the fills that they're playing are connecting the sections. That's stuff that I'm really passionate about. And that's stuff that I work on with my sixth graders, and I'm still working on with, the professionals that come to study with me. It's, the good thing is that beginners need to learn fundamentals. Intermediate players need their fundamentals reinforced, and advanced players need to be reminded what fundamentals are. So
that is
yeah,
very,
so
very true.
I work on a lot of simple concepts, and that's why with a book like Survival Guide, it's not an amazingly difficult study. The last thing in the book isn't the hardest thing in the book. Nothing in the book is deliberately meant to be hard or overly challenging. It's all meant to be information that's useful. And I think that approaching education from a place where I'm not trying to stump the band, but a place where I'm trying to inform people about, what the real world musical situations are like, I think, has been one thing that I guess has been really appreciated about the book.
That's awesome. This is all such great conceptual things to think about. And again, real world, which is going to bring me to my fifth question, and probably the most important. Through your work touring all over the world, I'm sure you've experienced a variety of cuisine, and living in the Nashville area with famous hot chicken, you get to pick dinner tonight. What are we having?
You and I?
Yeah, we're going to go out to dinner. Or you have your choice to go anywhere in the world of all the things that you've had.
We could go anywhere in the world.
We can go anywhere.
Oh, goodness. Wow. Yeah, you're really throwing me for a loop on this.
And for the record, I haven't had hot chicken yet, but now I'm going to next time.
Yeah, well, you know what? I mean, if you and I were in Nashville, we'd probably do that. That's quite an experience. I would definitely just recommend you don't get any hotter than hot. They got like these super hots and super amazingly, phenomenally hots, and they will shut your organs down. So
I don't need to be a hero.
I'm producing, I'm co-producing a band with a friend of mine right now. We had them in the studio, and one of the days we had Prince's hot chicken brought in for lunch, and Prince's is one of the places that is just so busy. It's amazing that they get anything on an order right. Well, they got basically all of the order right, but I think some of the stuff wasn't clearly as labeled as other people, people were hoping. So some of the people that thought they were getting medium got hot.
Okay.
And they were suffering mightily, so, it's sort of like Thai food. You just got to have a lot of caution there. But
outside of then, what's your second favorite meal?
Oh, I wouldn't say that one's my favorite. I like that a lot. Have you ever been to the Melting Pot?
I have been there.
Melting pots are pretty interesting. My wife and I just went there. I like those. I feel like they should give you a discount because you are cooking your own dinner. But instead they charge a premium, which I think is a really great business model. They give you raw food, you cook it, and they charge you more for it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. But no, I'm pretty easy. We're lucky. We've got a couple of really great and authentic Thai places here, and we're battling to figure out which one we like best. But we've been one of them we can dine in, and one we've been taking out. But when I'm in the studio, there's probably nothing better than pizza.
Well,
pizza is quick, pizza is easy, and pizza is like other things in life. Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good.
Still really good. What a perfect way to end our 5 questions. Jim, thanks so much for spending your time with us today. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you, and I hope this has been fun for you. I know that our viewers are going to enjoy this as much as I did. So
this has been really great. I appreciate my relationship with the company and everything that's happened with the book, and look forward to doing some other projects in the future.
Sounds amazing. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next time.